Alright, now at this point, we have a better understanding why identity and system matter in habit change. I hope you do. Let's talk about lesson number 3, the 4 laws of behavior change. James created the 4 laws of behavior change to help us to make those tiny tweaks to change our habits. But before that, James also talked about the science of how habits work, the feedback loop that involves 4 steps: cue, craving, response, and the reward. For example, your phone buzzes, that's a cue. You want to know what is it? That's a craving. You picked up your phone and read the text, that's a response. You satisfy your craving and see someone like your post, that's a reward. It's a complete feedback loop that guarantees next time you hear the phone buzzes, you would want to pick up the phone and satisfy your cravings. You feel stuck when you're writing something. You feel discouraged and frustrated, that's a cue. You want to escape and feel less stressed, that's a craving. You light up a cigarette, that's a response. You feel a little better temporarily, that's a reward. By the way, I don't really smoke anymore. I'm just showing you guys how that this works. All habits proceed through the 4 stages in the same order. After we understand how habits are created, James introduced us the 4 laws of behavior change. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, make it satisfying. The first law is to make it obvious, and James offers strategies like implementation intention and habit stacking. The key is to create more obvious cues that triggers our cravings for the good behavior and eliminate the cues for the bad behaviors in our environment. For example, I've always wanted to become a reader and read more books. I not only put my books at the most obvious spot in my room, but I would also always bring a book with me everywhere I go. And I leave a book in the restroom, the living room, and in my car. But still, that is not enough. According to James, you have to have a very specific implementation intention, which means you gotta have set a very specific time and location where you do this behavior. For example, I will read at least 1 hour a day every night before I go to sleep in my room. Did you guys notice that? You gotta be very specific with the time and the location, which are most obvious cues in our environment. Besides that, habit stacking is a really effective strategy when it comes to building new habits. For example, after I finish my morning run, I would always have a habit of posting my run trackings on Weibo or Instagram story, which is something I've been doing for many years, and recently I started this running everyday challenge. But recently, I've been noticing that if I'm using my phone on a yoga mat and posting all that stuff while I'm stretching, which is another daily routine, it's just so easy to be distracted and spend more time than I realize on social media. Fuck. So I made a habit stacking rule. I only allow myself to do all this social media posting while I'm doing a walk sit. I tied my desired behavior, which is walk sit, into social media posting, which makes walk sit easier since my attention is on my phone. But at the same time, I will also spend less time on my phone, which is limited because of walk sit. That would absolutely reduce my screen time. The second law is make it attractive, which aims to increase the craving after we have been exposed to the right cues. So in order to make the desired behavior such as exercising, reading, working out, eating healthy more attractive, James has created a very practical strategy called temptation bundling. But we have to understand these key points first, which is dopamine is what drives people to act. Dopamine is released not only when you experience pleasure, but also when you anticipate it. Gambling addicts have a dopamine spike right before they place a bait, not after they win. Cocaine addicts get a surge of dopamine when they see the powder, not after they take it. The key is to trick your mind to anticipate the reward by doing the hard task such as reading before you do something you want. The third law is make it easy, which is pretty easy to understand, right? You just, got start in an easy way. It is so easy to get bogged down by trying to find the optimal plan for change, the fastest way to lose weight, the best program to build muscle, the perfect idea for a side hustle. We are so focused on figuring out the best approach that we never get around to taking action. I really like this quote from James: standardize before you optimize. You can't improve a habit that doesn't exist. When you fail to start a new habit, you can imply the 2-minute rule. Whatever you desire to do, you can just do it for 2 minutes, and that's the only goal. Make it as easy as possible. Finally, the fourth law is to make it satisfying. Actually, make it immediately satisfying. One of the biggest challenges for any habit formation is that whatever you do today will not benefit you immediately. Without immediate satisfaction, any behavior is less likely to be repeated. We are now living in what scientists call the delayed return environment, because it can work for years before you actually deliver the intended payoff. So lastly, lesson number 4, 1% can actually make a big difference. This is actually one of the first few points that James talked about in his book, but I chose to say it last because I found this one the most encouraging, and personally it gave me the most hope, because it's all about how tiny changes actually make the biggest remarkable results. Let's take a look at this graph. So if we can get 1% better every day for a year, we'll end up 37.78% better. And if we got 1% worse every day for a year, we'll go down nearly to 0. Yeah, I mean, this sounds just dramatic and unrealistic, but it just really explains how small changes can compound to have a greater impact that you can ever imagine. We don't believe the small changes only because we don't see the results in a very short time. And James then talked about another very important point, which is called the plateau of latent potential, which explains the period that most of us has experienced in life when we are trying to get better at something. We expect the progress to be linear, but in reality, that leads to an initial valley of disappointment, where a lot of people give up. But after you fall through the disappointment, you'll start noticing some growth. As James says in his book, time magnifies the margin between success and failure. It will multiply whatever you feed it. Good habits make time your ally, and bad habits make time your enemy. Alright, obviously it's just impossible for me to summarize this book really well within just a few minutes. That James spent a few months writing this book. I don't know how long he spent on writing this book, but I want to say that I highly recommend go grab a hard copy or digital copy yourself, and it's definitely going to worth your time and money. And this is the first video of sharing books I read. There's definitely more to come. So if you guys find this kind of video helpful or interesting, please click the like for me, so let the algorithm know that my video is valuable, and it will push out to more people, and it will help my channel to grow. And I really appreciate that. And if you guys think some friends or family would find this interesting or helpful, please feel free to share with them. And yeah, I really appreciate you sharing the time with me today. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. And I'm really happy that I did it. Just like building a great habit, I apply this to myself as well. Every time I just want to get 1% better, and through time I'll eventually be a lot better. And if I persist and never give up, yeah, which is what I'm doing,